Okay, and our man is here, described as stellar batsman, Ashes Messiah, and of course, apart from being opinionated pundit, also Peloton star as well, Michael Vaughan. Welcome to the Virtual Cricket Club.
I thought you were actually describing Simon then. I didn't realise you were on to me.
No, he's a Taekwondo star or a Judo star or
Karate
star.
Pilates, karate.
Anyway, welcome to our Virtual Cricket Club, Michael Vaughan, otherwise known as Virgil.
Yeah,
thank you for your time tonight.
Sorry it's taken a few months to get on. You've been asking me for a while, but can I show you where I am? I'm actually on a roundabout. Let me just show you. Look.
Oh my goodness.
I'm actually 16 floors up in Birmingham for the test match, and they've put me on a roundabout.
That's the BBC for you, isn't it?
All good.
Just gotta hope there's not an earthquake.
Well, yeah, let's hope not, Simon. Please, you know, you're always full of very, very
full of joys of spring.
Full
of the joys of spring.
Listen, I've been in an earthquake about 11 floors up in Japan. It's utterly terrifying. Anyway, let's hope it doesn't happen to you.
I've been in an earthquake as well. It's when Mike Gatting sat down for dinner. Listen, you had an opening line, Simon, didn't you?
Just that the names Ollie and Robinson are not going to feature as much as people might think this evening. It's going to be an Ollie Robinson free zone. I think you might get the occasional mention, but we're not going to go on about that this evening. There's been so much comment over the last few days. Michael's had his say, Yoz has had his say, I've had my say.
I've been accused of being a racist about 10 times. I haven't had any death threats yet. Have you had any, Barney?
No, I don't think so. I generally don't look at my comments, so. I found in life that having opinions is great, but generally, if you want to stay clear of I guess other people affecting what you're going to say, I don't look at comments. I'm sorry if anyone comments on my social sites, but I'm not being rude. I just don't look.
I wonder why I wasn't getting any answers from you.
No, I don't, because I'll tell you why. It's because a few years ago, it wound me up a bit, and I'm not easily wound up, as you two well know. But you know, it was affecting my rounds of golf.
Really?
So I decided, well, yeah, I just thought it was putting me in bad moods, and I just thought, you know what, I'll have my opinion. You know, social media is a cesspit. It's great, and it's brilliant for those with opinion, those to have a bit of banter. I think years and years ago, it was more banter than opinion, which probably has become where it's got a bit nasty at times in the recent times. But yeah, I just feel it's better to have an opinion and stick with it. And I don't generally listen to too many comments. I'm not being rude. I just find that it's not good for your health.
Yeah, well, I have occasionally looked at your timeline, Michael, and you're probably wise. I mean,
it is what it is, Simon.
Well, it's not just actually, you know, the comment. There's some, you know, pro and anti. It's also the number. I mean, if you spent all that time going through it, you never do anything else in life.
They're all bots. Half of them are not real people.
Yeah.
No, that's the problem with social media. That, you know, we all could have 50 accounts, and kind of. If you want to abuse someone, I would recommend that you do, but you could go at them at 50 different angles. You know, it's just not a place now that you take too serious. I've found that social media.
How does that compare to, you know, when you were a player? Did you, you know, obviously then there was no social media really, but obviously there was the press. How kind of touchy and, you know, sensitive were you to press articles at the time you were, say, captain?
Yeah. I would say when I was in a good space and I felt that I was doing everything right, I honestly didn't care less what anyone wrote. When I was in a negative space and possibly making excuses up or looking for excuses to why I'm not scoring runs or not playing so well. Any little comment would have affected me. But these times are different. It's so much harder now for the player. In our times there was paper articles. I guess being an England cricketer in the early 2000s, there was more action on terrestrial television, so there was more eyeballs watching you play. But there certainly wasn't the element of a fan being able to get to you. The only way a fan could get to you, I guess, would be a phone-in, and there wasn't that many cricket phone-ins. The odd time on Channel 4, I guess you got fans involved, but they didn't really criticise too much. I do think I got the best of cricket. I got cricket in the early 90s, where it was completely like, a gentleman's game, almost like a stag trip, the county game, week in, week out, great fun, not very professional at all. Towards the late 90s, it became more professional. That's when I started to realise that I had to knuckle down and start to be a pro and take cricket a bit more seriously. And when I finished in 2009, it was almost going too far the other way, where it was too much data analysis. And I like analysis, I like data, but I felt it was going too far that way. And there's a fine balance that you need to try and get right. So I wouldn't change, the era. The only, thing I'd say, I think the people that played in my era possibly got it okay, because all right, there might have been the odd red top journalist chasing you around for the odd story, but it certainly wasn't anything like social media these days.
What about the cash, Michael?
Sorry, carry on.
What about the cash, IPL and all that?
It doesn't worry me. I mean, I honestly, I did well at the game. I can't complain. No, I'm doing all right. I honestly, what cricket taught me was a great lesson in life is hard work. And I think sometimes if you get you cash too soon, there may be an element that you don't have to work hard. There may be an element that you've got it already and you don't have to kind of further your mindset, your skill set. And it, whenever, what was I, 35 in 2009 when I retired, I didn't have enough money to do nothing. I had to go and work really hard, and I still do so. And I kind of look back at the early 2000s when, and in the 90s when money really wasn't in the game. You really were playing cricket for a summer sport, which was paying you okay. I mean, as a young 18-year-old, you're earning money, which is great. But it certainly wasn't enough money to have a great lifestyle. It was just great to have a few quid in the bank. You're playing a sport that you love. It's a hobby. And it got better and better in the early 2000s. But certainly what it taught me, Yozza will tell you, in the 80s and 90s, we were encouraged, or made actually, at the end of every day's play of county cricket, to go and mix with commercial sponsors. You'd be sent to the commercial tent, playing at Middlesbrough or Sheffield or Harrogate. And you'd have to go as a young player and introduce yourself to the sponsors for the day and talk and just communicate. And I do worry that maybe that's not there anymore, because players don't have to do that. So when they do finish, they might actually finish with a pot of cash, which is great, but they don't have the communication skills. And whatever you do in life, whatever you do, you have to communicate. You have to talk to people. I just worry that players of this day and age, there are some that are very good at it, but there's also a group that don't have to do it and don't willingly put themselves out there to do it. So when they do finish, they might have a pot of gold in the bank, but will they have that communication skill, that personable skill that you need to get on in life and do something different? So
I certainly had that skill, and I had a skill of going around the tents at Canterbury one day, because it was my benefit year the following year, and it was Canterbury Festival Week, and it was all those lovely marquees, and all of them were real ale tents or Pimm's or Carlsberg Special Brew, whatever. And while we were batting, chasing 300 to win, 200 for two, I went round the tents thinking, well, I'll make some contact here for my benefit year the following year. And of course, every tent you go in, they say, have a half, have a glass of Pimm's or something. And we were going well. Ramps and Gat were chasing this target down, 240 for two, great. And I got to about the 8th tent. We lost about 4 wickets, and I had to go into bat. I was totally pissed. And I had to go into bat to hit 10 off the last over from Alan Nicholson, and I missed every ball.
Well, nothing changed there then.
So it's sort of, kind of, it's good, useful making those contacts, but it does kind of have a detrimental effect.
But the benefit was a big thing in cricket.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is anymore in county cricket. It possibly is, but I don't hear as much about it from when I was starting in the 92, 93. It really was. You had to go and get your contacts. You had to go and get your contact list growing for when that day came, that the club would hopefully offer you a benefit, and you'd be able to ring up these contacts to buy a table or put on a golf day or put on a dinner. So I guess it may be that we didn't get the big checks, but I think it gave us great communication skills to hopefully stand us in better stead when you finish.
I had one question that I thought of, when we're talking about your captaincy and, reaction to the press and so on. Joe Root is now in charge with Silverwood as coach and selector. Did you like having an outside selector, or would you have preferred this system?
I'll be honest. I think I had this system.
Okay. You did it anyway.
I honestly do. I don't remember an England team that I took out onto the field that wasn't the team that me and Duncan Fletcher wanted. Maybe the Darren Patterson situation at Headingley was one. We'd not met him. I felt so sorry for him. He was a great guy. We'd had so many injuries that week. Ryan Sidebottom pulled out on the morning of the match, so that was just a one-off situation. But I always felt as England captain that I got pretty much the team. It wasn't even pretty much. It was a team that I wanted to take out on the field, and I guess Ed Smith, you could argue, is probably he's probably been moved aside for budgeting reasons as well. I mean, the ECB will be trying to save a few quid. I'd have thought Ed would have got to the end of the Ashes at least. But when you're trying to save a few quid and you're looking at your system, you're looking at the personnel and how many people are in it, you probably could say that he would be the one person that they can do without. And that's not diminishing anything that Ed did. It's just that it's the fact of the matter. I think you go back through all the England captains over the last 30 years and you say, could you have done without that chairman of selectors who speaks on a Sunday morning or rings the players? And you all would probably say, yeah, I think we can get away with that. So a bit more pressure on Chris Silver, not so much, Joe Root's the captain. He's had pressure for a few years doing it, but a little bit more pressure on Chris Silver, I guess, because it's new to him.
What about the player, the one or two players who you might not have seen that much of, and how would you have introduced them into the side? Would that be a problem? I don't know.
No, I mean it's very simple, Simon. I mean, even back in my day when there was no streaming of county cricket, the old-fashioned phone call works. You're ringing up coaches, you're ringing up umpires. You've got scouts out there. The players. You can see who's doing what. You can see when players are getting their runs or taking their wickets. I think that's as important as the amount. Now they're very fortunate that every single bit of county cricket is streamed. It's logged. They can see who the players are that are doing pretty much everything. But you get a feel for people. I whatever I do in my life, business, sport, I generally go with people. And it was no different when I was the captain. I get a feel for a person. I get a feel for a person who gives you a bit of information about a player, and you trust them, and you go back to them and say, have you seen X or Y? And they'll come back to you and say, yeah, be careful about this, or maybe you can look for this player who's playing in a different fashion, and that's just the nature of communication and trust. You don't get every decision right, as Joe and Chris Silverwood won't. You're not going to get every selection right, but I think when you're the England captain, England coach, I believe you need the power to be able to pick the players that you want to pick. I don't think there should be an outside source who's not in that dressing room, not day to day seeing these players' eyeballs. I think you as the captain and Chris now as the coach, absolutely, like me and Duncan did, and Nasser and Duncan. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I played quite a bit under Nasser. I don't remember him, or I never saw him getting grumpy because of a selection. I always felt like he had full power on the selection of the team.
You mentioned Joe, and you obviously go back with Joe Root. I mean, the first time you saw him would have been even like a lad, wouldn't he? A small lad. How much sort of contact do you have with him now? I think it's interesting for people to know. You're the former captain, but similar sorts of backgrounds. do you, I mean, are you in contact with him constantly or every now and again, or does he go to you for advice? How does that work, Michael? If you're prepared to say.
Yeah, not often is the honest answer. I think when he first started his career, it was quite often. And that goes back to county cricket. When he first started his England career, it was quite often. When he first started his captain's career, it was quite often. But, you know, I think that's always going to be the case when someone starts something new. You offer them that kind of fatherly figure just to be there, just in case they want a conversation. I'd never force anything on anybody. But I think it's always handy when you're starting out something new to have someone that's been there and done it. But after a year or so, in both the Yorkshire career, England career, now captaincy career, he's his own person. He's got to do it his own way. And he knows, as I'm sure lots of ex-England captains would be there if he, you know, wanted to have a conversation about anything. But I don't know, when I was England captain, I actually didn't want to speak to England captains. And it wasn't disrespecting England captain. It's a fact I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to be me. I wanted to make decisions myself. I wanted the team to play in the fashion that I would, and Duncan wanted us to play. You know, reading books. You know, I always get asked, "Oh, did you read the Mike Brearley book when you got the captaincy?" I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't feel that I wanted to. I just wanted to go out there, play cricket. I think cricket is a sport that's completely overcomplicated. And I think the best way to captain and learn is to go out there and make decisions. You'll make the wrong ones many times, but I think just by being you, getting the team playing the way that you would like, treating people as human beings, not as cricketers. The best piece of advice, I've said it many times on many podcasts, came from my father. And he said, always remember, you manage the person, not the player. The player will always look after himself. The person, you've no idea who he is. And if you can manage the person, you've got a better chance of that player performing. But if you don't manage the person, you just manage the player, you know, let's be honest, in dressing rooms, most players are a bit false, a bit wary, particularly when they first come in. They're not quite themselves. So I think it's important as leaders and as captains, you go out of your way to try and find out who that person is. And then you can actually identify. Every now and again, you'll see a player act slightly differently to who the person is in the dressing room. And if you know that, as a captain, you can relate. But if you don't know that, you might come unstuck and you might feel that you're not able to get the best out of that person.
And what was your technique for getting to know the person? Did you have any particular way of doing it?
I just try to have one-on-one conversations. I think team chats and captaincy speeches, Churchillian style, getting on a chair and beating your chest. You know, that was never for me. I never bought into that kind of management. Very simple procedure in terms of talking to the team, just giving them the directive of what you want. My feeling always was that I wanted an England team that was brave. You know, I just wanted us to have a go. I never ever wanted an England team that was worried about losing, failure. I didn't want that. So I would give the team the license in a team chat to play. You know, just play. You know, make sure we're skillful, make sure that we're reading situations if we can, but just play. You know, let's try and have a go at the opposition. But I'd have a lot of conversations one-on-one with people, just to make sure that they were fine. You know, in the personal life, you know, in their game, if they've got anything they need to tell me. You know, and I just felt that was a better way to manage a whole group, because I always believe in team sport. If you can get the individuals in a good state of mind, the team will look after itself. If you try and manage the whole team without looking after the individuals, I think you'll become unstuck. So I generally, I didn't like speaking in front of the group, to be honest. I was nervous. So I didn't want to do it. And I was petrified of making that first speech as England captain with the likes of Alex Stewart, Nasser Hussain, Mark Butcher, Carrick. Honestly, I was petrigoffy. I didn't have a clue what to say. You know, I'm a young kid leading these guys, and I've got to stand up in their faces and pretend I'm that leader of theirs. Now, I had no clue. That got better in time, because the more you do it, obviously, the more confident you get, and you understand when to speak, what to say, what not to say, which is probably as important as what you say. But I just wanted to know the people, and I think over the time I got to know quite a lot of them quite well.
Right. Do you want to see your wicket of Tendulkar or or your 100 against Australia at Old Trafford 2005?
I'll be honest, I don't want to see now. I'm not that bothered about them both.
Well, I do. I want to see them.
Asked.
Well, all right, then.
Quite a few times over the years, you know.
Well, I know, but everybody else likes seeing them.
Now, if you can show me the winner from 1991, the Rumbelows Cup final, John Sheridan, that'd be nice.
There you are. Look, let's see this then.
Yeah, that's glorious. Yeah, wonderful. I have actually got the stump and the ball signed by Sachin. Yeah. The stump has a little red mark where the ball clips the top of the off stump, and I don't keep that much memorabilia. I think I've got the cap from 05 when I lifted the air, and I've also got that stump and the ball. And I actually snuck into the Indian dressing room to get Sachin to sign it, which was slightly awkward.
This.
Yeah, it's a good delivery. That's good. A good piece of bowling. Doesn't get any better than that, Simon, does it? The size of the sweater.
And you got him out for.
Well, so he's in. He's set.
Yeah, exactly.
He's set.
Yeah.
It was slightly awkward going into. So the Trent Bridge dressing room are on the top floor. So I came off with my ball and my stump. Went up into the dressing room. Fletch could be drawn. Fletch didn't have a lot to say. Nas didn't have a lot to say. So I thought, this is my chance. So I snuck down into the Indian dressing room, which was down below. And Saurav Ganguly was doing his team chat. And Saurav's a lovely guy. And I said, I'm ever so sorry. Are you in a team? He goes, no, come in. He said, what you after? I went, well, Sachin, if you don't mind, can you sign the stump and the ball, please? Yeah, so he did. I've got them. Yeah, they're at home in my house.
We have to just see this 100 at Old Trafford because there's a good bit of boycott commentary in the middle. So let's just watch this for a minute. It's only about a minute long.
Boundary for the England captain. Not the most convincing of boundaries.
That's a bit harsh. That was quite a good shot.
Well, come on. That was aft, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was his favourite stroke down to third man as well. This was a glorious pitch. It was flat.
Yeah,
good toss to win. Look at the colour of the pitch.
It's just about Michael Vaughan at his very best.
I didn't notice how many footholds. Look at the footholds. This is day one before lunch.
Yeah.
Footholds already. So that was a pie. Gillespie had gone by then.
Very, very hard. Michael Vaughan.
You'd be on commentary here, yours, won't you?
No, I was in the truck, mate.
Hidden away in your zone, yeah, down in the dungeon. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The ball. I don't think the ball went off the straight and narrow. Apart from that one.
Oh, no ball, buckle up, you Aussies. Settle down there, boys.
I love that.
Well, yeah, I think I had a bit of fortune after that. I was dropped.
You were dropped by Gilchrist, actually.
Yeah.
Cut that out.
Yeah, you did well there, but you need a bit of arse, don't you, when you play at the highest level? A bit of fortune, sunshine. Look at that pitch; it's an absolute road.
No wonder he went round the wicket.
Oh yeah, look at that full toss from Shane Warne. By the way, how was he engaged to Liz Hurley? That's remarkable. Look at the state of him.
99 for Vaughan.
Inside edge, nice. Only way to bring up a ton, isn't it? Nice inside tickle.
Thick edge through mid wicket.
Yeah.
I think you fooled the camera operator as well. They were looking for the offside.
Yeah, it was just starting to reverse there, Simon. It was going round corners. Did you not notice that? Magnificent century. The ball didn't go for straight and narrow. I think we scored quite quickly that day. We
did, and that just showed something. That's quite an interesting graphic, isn't it? Best averages v Australia Test matches since '95.
Yeah, I think it's gone down since then.
A little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
So just one story about that game. I seem to remember you met a kid before the toss or something who was disabled or was about to die, wasn't he?
No, he's come through it. He just had,
he's come through it.
Yeah, he did that. I'm pretty sure I hope for God he has. he was a great young kid, and he came to toss up with me, and he had wires coming out of everywhere. And I was, I wasn't in the runs. We were 1-1 in the series, but Fletcher tried to lift my spirits, saying, "Look, you've got to try and enjoy it." I was like, "It's bloody hard when you're England captain, you're not getting so many runs, the spotlight's on you." And as I walked out with my blazer on and my hat, this little kid came towards me, and he just looked at me and goes, "Why aren't you smiling?" And I just went, "You know what? You're absolutely spot on. Why am I not smiling? I'm playing for England. The crowd's going to be full. Glorious day. We're 1-1 in an Ashes series." And it just relieved me. I mean, I know it sounds trivia, but it just kind of relieved me of the whole pressure. I just thought, you know what? Look at the state of this young kid. There's wires everywhere. He's gone through complete turmoil. His mum and dad were beside him. Tried to think what they'd gone through. And then all of a sudden, I just won the toss. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try and enjoy batting. I'm not going to really worry about getting out. Not going to worry about playing a bad shot. Not going to be worrying about Shane Warne, McGrath, and Gillespie. I'll just go out and bat and just see where it takes me. I had a bit of fortune, but it told me a lot about mentality, that you do need to have that. Even though you're playing at the highest level and the spotlight's huge, I always think the best players can just play and just play the ball rather than the situation of what's gone before them. And they're just watching the ball, every ball, and just reacting. And that's all I tried to do. Try to just react to every single ball, play with a bit of simplicity. Managed to get a few. So yeah, that young chap certainly changed my mentality that morning.
When you look back on that series, Michael, do you think, God, we achieved something incredible? I mean, do you can you see it in context now, or is it just sort of part of the pageant of playing, and it's one of those summers, and
No. To be honest, the further away that I get from it, the better it becomes and feels, because I think if you go back to 2019, I think the whole of that summer it felt to me similar. With the World Cup final, the Ashes was ebbing and flowing. Headingley felt like probably 4 of those 05 games. And that was just being a broadcast, it just felt tight. The World Cup final was extraordinary in 19, and it just felt like the nation was suddenly starting to talk about cricket. And with the England team in particular had a lot of success. But I've been broadcasting since 2010, and I felt 19 was when and if you think England won here in 13, 15, but it never felt like the nation got behind the team, or everyone was talking about cricket. Whereas 2019, I felt that it was very similar to going back to 2005. So, when you look at the Australian team in particular, and the names, again, they just get better and better. The longer that they are away from retirement, the likes of Shane Warne. I mean, if I was picking a greatest ever team, I don't know what you guys would think, I would always have Shane Warne as my number 1 pick. And it's not just that he's a friend; it's that leg spin skill.
Yeah, I agree.
The kind of personality of Shane, bats, catches, the way that he could intimidate the opposing batters just by being there. When you're thinking about someone that I would put as number 1 in the World 11 of all time, you're talking of greatness. And then you got Hayden and Langer, Ponting, Gilchrist. I mean, Gilchrist, again, you'd probably have him as the greatest wicket-keeper batsman. It's an incredible team. McGrath, Gillespie, Brett Lee. It's an incredible team that you look back on and think, oh, we beat them. I don't know how. We managed to just get on a roll. And Freddie and KP, particularly Freddie Flintoff, he was. I've not seen it. I've not played with an England player over 3 games. Edgbaston, I felt he had a bit of fortune with the bat, but his bowling was incredible. But I just felt probably half of Edgbaston and the remaining 3 games, I've not seen an England player in a dressing room that just knew that he was going to deliver.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. In actual fact, it was somebody asked me the other day whether the 2005, from a sort of broadcaster's experience perspective, which was better, the 2019 or the 2005. They were different, obviously, because one was white ball, obviously, but I think the campaign for both was similar, because you'd won all your tests the previous summer and built up to the Ashes and beaten Australia in the Champions Trophy and things like that. So, there was a momentum there. And the same with the England 2019 World Cup success. They had 2 or 3 years of being number 1 and winning, so consistently and playing the best cricket. And you sort of felt it was their time. And in a way, I felt with you, it was your time as well, that 2005 series. But the fact that it was 3 months and it was on terrestrial TV all the time, I suppose that made it bigger, really.
Yeah, I mean, they are very similar, but there's only English cricket I feel can deliver the final moment with so much drama. You know, you think about the World Cup final, the super over, boundary camp, winning it. Ben Stokes, how he got it to a super over, I'll never know. So many times in that final, you look back and how have England won that game? The drop catches, the no balls, the reviews that went their way. You know, everything was happening for a reason. And you go through the Ashes in 2005, you know, McGrath stumbling on a ball at Edgbaston, Ricky Ponting deciding to bowl first at Edgbaston, Shane Warne dropping Kevin Peterson at the Oval. There's so many, you guys will tell me more, but there were so many moments that you look back on and think,
that Strauss catch of Gilchrist at Trent Bridge, you know, little moments like that must be very uplifting.
Gary Pratt.
Brilliant.
Gary Pratt, yeah.
Yeah, you need. I always think you can't win the big trophies and the big moments without having really good players. You can try, but it's very difficult to do so. And at that moment, you know, in 2005, we were playing great, we were confident, and in 2019, England just knew how to win. You know, but I don't know what it is with English cricket. We don't generally just win normally. You know, when we win anything that's decent, it's always worth watching. I always say, England, like the Test match team now, I just think they're a great team to watch because you're never quite sure what you're getting. You're not sure whether you're getting brilliance or within a day or a week, you could get absolutely, well, I can't say it, it's too rude, but you just enjoy watching them for that reason, that you're not too quite sure what the standard's going to be, which they're a bit like the Keegan side, the Newcastle side. You're never quite sure what you're going to get, but it's worth watching.
Alex Gaywood on the chat says, as players, at what point during the 2005 Ashes did you realise that the public, the non-cricketing public, were behind you and completely enthralled by it all?
Probably Old Trafford on that last day when there was 20,000 locked out. I mean, I didn't have a clue when I arrived at the ground with all these. I thought there was like a bomb scare outside or something. We didn't quite get to grips with it. And so we walked out on the balcony of the dressing room and saw the whole ground full at about 9:20, which was staggering. And we were playing our usual game of football to 20,000. It was fantastic. It felt like being a footballer for those 20 minutes of football in the morning. But it was then, and also going to Trent Bridge and doing the press conference and seeing a press room of obviously the cricketing media that I knew. But then there was a lot of faces and cameras that I didn't have a clue there were. And they were clearly sent from news. And I think, you know, a lot of it was about Freddie Flintoff, this character that the nation suddenly wanted to know more about. So there was lots of cameras for him. So, you know, then that suddenly we were starting to appeal to others other than the cricketing crowd.
We're going to take some questions from our
just before we do, I just want one more question, and as he's having a sip, that's a perfect segue. How interested in nutrition were you then? Because you're now, you know, got quite a few sort of little businesses going, one of which is this Mission Teas you're an investor in. I got some here as well, which is a special kind of tea. For those who haven't listened to the podcast, this guy, Tom Whittle, actually traveled around South America by bike and found these Argentine teas, herbal teas, incredibly beneficial for energy release and relaxation and rehydration and so on. And now tell us a little bit about your involvement with them. And would it have made a difference to you as a player, do you think?
That's it.
Probably yes, because you were having a pint of beer after the game.
Yeah, five pints did me all right. No, I as I said, I deal with people, and Tom was a person that I met. Loved his story, like his brand. Enjoy his teas. They're all different, from perform to energize to hydrate to recover to sleep. If you want to get a nice kip at night,
I've got one here.
Yeah, well, hopefully that'll put you to sleep, Simon.
Well, if Simon doesn't.
No, or if I don't. So as I said, he was a young chap, was a commercial lawyer, went out to South America to cycle across the whole of South America, stumbled across these teas, yerba mate in particular that goes into the teas.
Yeah, this is yerba mate on this one, actually.
Yeah, and he decided when he came back to create the brand, and that's when he started to go around a few people to see if there be interested, and I was one of the few that was interested. And as I said, I always invest in people, and it's sometimes irrelevant what the product is, but this is a great product. But if the person isn't driving it properly, you've got no chance. Whereas you've got a young team, only a small team, and they're making a nice brew, so it's been good.
And quite a lot of the sports stars are bought into it, haven't they? England players and footballers and so on. Yeah,
it's going well. It's as I say, it's a nice brand. It's only young, only just starting out. But if you want to fuel your day without the caffeine, I mean, I always start the day with the coffee. It's not that I'm saying you don't drink coffee, but if you want to just fuel it consistently throughout the day, I
highly recommend these. missionuk.com. 20% off if you type in Cricketer 20 afterwards. You can get 20% off.
You're doing a good job to get Mission to continue to sponsor your podcast. Simon.
Yeah, well, why not? You know, I like it. I mean, it's great. You know, I've got my workout. I got my gym outside and all that, so I need a bit of help.
The producer stepping in. This is flagrant.
Oh, shut up. Oh, go away. This isn't the BBC. Do you know I you know this? You see this display of the Cricketer magazine up here during the Channel 4 coverage of the India series. I did show that, and I also showed the 100th anniversary issue here, and it roused a big furore from Ofcom, and I had to write a letter of apology, and the channel nearly got fined. So there you are. You can't do product placement on proper TV, but you can on here. No. Go on, let's do the questions, Simon, as you said.
Yeah, let's get some of our members' questions. Who's first up tonight, Snorts?
Carl Norts.
Going to be Omar.
Hello, Omar.
Good evening, Omar.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Hi, Vaughan. Nice to see you.
Omar, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm going to take you back all the way to 2003 and your first Test match as captain. What was it like taking over that side with such a short space of time, because Nasser had obviously resigned and you only had a few days to kind of take over? And secondly, what was it like playing under captaining someone that was an ex-captain in Nasser Hussain, because he was sort of playing with you, I think, during 2004 as well. He went to the West Indies with you guys, and New Zealand as well. So what was it like to captain him, because he'd had quite a lot of influence on the team, obviously. He's known to have rejuvenated English cricket. So what was it like to actually captain him?
First and foremost, 3 days after being told I was the captain, I'm leading the side out at Lords. It was petrifying. There's no other words to describe it. I didn't really have a clue what to do. What can you do inside a few days? I think Nasser will admit he was a little bit unsure of himself as well that week, because he'd just given it up and he's playing at Lords. He dropped Graham Smith when he was on 6, and he went to get a double. So that didn't make things that much better. Alex Stewart was behind the stumps. I think we got bowled out for 180. I think we were all out playing the pull shot, which the media thought I'd told all the team to, you must play the pull shot, because it was one of my favourite strokes. So we get bowled out. We go out to field. Goffey inside 3 overs. Turnsmith said, "Right, that's me. I'm done." So he pretty much retired on the pitch. Alex Stewart then went off with a migraine. Anthony McGrath was in the team. He took the gloves. The first ball that Goffey bowled, Herschel just left it outside off stump. McGrath didn't move, and it went buys. I thought, this can't go any worse. And then we got absolutely hammered. Smith took us for 200. I think we were bowled out cheap. I think Freddie got a few in the second innings, which was our one glimmer of hope that I could kind of work towards. That wait a minute, Freddie had found a little bit of something. No, I honestly, the first few games, that first series, how we drew 2-2, I'll never know. I honestly never know. And the last test, actually, at the Oval, Harmison played. I don't know if he played the game before, but he certainly played that last game. We lost the toss. I think they got 4-8, and then Trescothick got a big double. Thorpe came. I brought Thorpe back in, and he got 100.
Yeah.
And Harmison had a good time with Freddie. We somehow managed to win that game. It was a great win. Stewie's last game as a player. And I really felt that was the start of the making of me as a captain, because I didn't do a great deal, but I gained a great deal, if you know what I mean. It wasn't that I was making many decisions, but I learned a lot about captaincy and the team over those four games. But No, it's not nice, Omar. I'll be honest with you. When you throw in the captaincy 3 days later, it's not a nice position.
And what was it like captaining Nasser then for that year period before he retired?
It was fine. You know, he gave me a good piece of advice: is that the team, you know, will want that moment where they kind of realise that you're the leader, and that moment came at Trent Bridge. You know, that was the moment that I got stuck into the team. You know, and basically I gave them a blueprint of the way that I was going to be as captain, and if they didn't like it, they'd have to go. And that was a lot about fitness, ethics, positivity. You know, we weren't going to sit back, and anyone that wasn't fit wasn't going to get picked. Didn't matter what the age was, weren't going to get picked. Any player that wasn't going to buy into the mentality of trying to win, just win all the time, they weren't going to get picked. And that was me setting the pretty much the blueprint. And at that, I remember it was in is it the Park Plaza in Nottingham?
Yeah,
I think it's the Park Plaza.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was, you know, it was a big room, and that was the moment really. I think when the team realised that I wasn't going to start mucking about too much.
Excellent, good questions, Omar.
Yeah, thanks, Omar.
Yeah.
Cheers, Omar.
Thanks very much. Who we got next then, Noughts? We've got Rob.
Evening, gents.
Sorry
Evening,
about
Vaughan. How you
the
doing?
sorry about the
Right,
post of the Zoom link, Rob. Apologies.
That's all right. No, how you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah,
Good.
Good, Rob. Yeah.
So, Vaughan, take you back to 2005. How crucial, in your opinion, was Simon Jones, and was he an unsung hero?
Well, I don't think he's unsung from OFA. I think he's just a hero. I mean, for what he delivered at Old Trafford, what he delivered at Trent Bridge. I'm not too sure he was that convinced about playing at Trent Bridge because he felt that he didn't bowl well there. I'm not too sure how many games he played there, but
well, didn't you look it up? Didn't you look it up and find out he'd never played there or something?
Yeah, he'd never played. Simon had a problem getting on the park, but if you got him on the park, he was different gravy. He actually strolled off at Old Trafford when we were trying to get those last few wickets with about 12 overs to go. And I thought he'd gone off injured. And then when I came off the pitch, and obviously we got them 9 wickets down, he was sat in the dressing room, as most of us did at the end of the game, having a Budweiser. He was sat already having a Budweiser. So, how's your ham? He went, absolutely fine. I went, why didn't you come back on there? He went, well, I didn't think you were going to bowl me. This is the guy that I got 6 for. So he was great. He had, I mean, like the obviously injury in 2002 in Brisbane was horrific. I don't think many remember the fact that at Trent Bridge, when he strolled off in the second innings, having, you know, we enforced the follow on the back really of what he'd done in the first innings, and then within an over or two, he'd walked off the pitch, and he's never obviously played for England again. But he would have got 300 plus Test match wickets if he would have stayed fit for 2 or 3 more years. He was absolutely outstanding.
I mean, I just found it fascinating that he taught himself reverse swing while he was injured.
Yeah.
He just taught himself reverse swing, and while he was injured, and he couldn't bowl it. It's just phenomenal bowler.
Yeah, he was quick. You know, he was skiddy, quick. He had a great release and a great technique to reverse swing the ball.
I seem to remember as well, he didn't ever need to loosen up. His first ball was as quick as his last ball, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I faced him in
explosive.
the net. Yeah, I faced him in the net, and it's never quite the same in the nets, but all the opposing players would always say it was like a bowling machine, you know, that thud out of the machine, that you don't really get a trigger. You don't get any kind of indication of where it's going to be or what he's going to do. Yeah, tremendous bowler.
We've got Mike, the Chris Wokes lookalike.
Oh, in my dreams. In my dreams.
Chris Wokes fan club.
Yeah, Chris Wokes fanboy. Let's go with that. Welcome to Birmingham, Michael. Just as a starter, obviously, Chris Wokes thing. I've got a bit of a thing about his hair. You are a fellow expert in hair, like myself.
Yeah.
Who, in your opinion, I've asked this to Tom Harrison as well, so you're in sort of exclusive company. Who do you think's got the best hair in the England setup at the moment?
Good question. I think Jimmy Anderson made comment about Stuart Broad's hair on Twitter a few years ago.
Yeah, I think that's deleted now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We should move on from that one.
Yeah, let's move on. Oh dear. Who's got the best
Rory
hair?
Burns.
Yeah,
I tell you, who's got the best hair.
hair.
What about the best hair in the New Zealand team? It's got to be Colin de Grandhomme, hasn't it?
Yeah, big Col.
Not even up for debate, is it really? With
Yeah,
that?
nah, big Col the mullet. You like a mullet, I like yours, mate. You've got a nice quiff.
Oh, cheers, mate. That means absolutely the world to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can go in and ask for Michael Vaughan now, can't you? If you
I
want.
might well do.
If you struggle in time, and I mean, you look a young chap, Mike. If you do struggle, I have ways and means of making it come back.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll try and catch you on Friday at Edgbaston. You can give me a little card or something. And,
Yeah, shout me wherever. I'll be obviously down on the pitch very early mornings. We have to do our links very early because we're not allowed to be around the players. So you'd have to get there quite soon.
Can you do anything for yours and me, Michael, or not?
Yeah, I mean, so the strand by strand where they take it from the back of your hair and they put it back on your head. You generally need quite a lot of donor areas around the back. Now, I'll be honest, it doesn't look like you've got enough.
Well, okay, right. Thanks.
But I get somebody else's.
Well, you can have something stuck on your head. You know, there are ways of sticking things on your head, but it's a bit itchy. The Graham Gooch story in Sri Lanka when he first had it done, I think you tell the story, Simon. And he went out to bat in Colombo. But in the first session, he's a bit grumpy with the team. There's only John Embry that could really tell the truth to Gucci. And he took his helmet off at lunch and his new wig had just slipped. And none of the team would say to Gucci, you better go in the toilet and get it back. Other than Embers. Embers went Gucci toilet.
Right. Well, Alex, yeah, I don't know whether you need a bit of advice from
Yeah,
Michael.
I've got it up for the Simon Hughes look as well. So. Evening, chaps, and thanks again for a great night as always. So my question kind of links back to the Tendulkar wicket earlier, where Michael proved that he was one of the takers of the great Test batsmen in the world. And this year, England are coming up against Steve Smith, Kohli, and Williamson. Although I think Williamson's out of the second Test now.
Yeah.
And based on your experiences as taking these great wickets, as a captain or a bowler, how would you approach bowling to these great batsmen nowadays?
I mean, two ways. To Steve Smith, I've seen, I think in the last year or so, he's been proven to be human. I don't believe anyone's superhuman. So I think keeping it very simple early. So trying to bring him forward on and around the off stump, I do think he's vulnerable, like every single player is. I don't think England stick to that often enough for longer periods. I think they kind of go to too many plans too soon. I'd go 2 plans, top of off stump and bring him forward. And if that doesn't work, I'd go really aggressive at his left shoulder.
Yep. With Steve Smith in the last Ashes, England had a philosophy of not talking to him and letting him get on with this game, which didn't seem to work out very well in the end. But I get the feeling that he's the sort of person you can get under the skin of. And again, I think it was the day-night test in the last Ashes in Australia that Jimmy Anderson was at a very fine mid-on and really wrangled him. Would you be talking to him whilst he was trying to bat?
I don't think it's worth it. I mean, these players that are very, very good, there's not really an amount of words can put them off the stride. The way to put players off the stride is by delivering your own skill well. So if you deliver your skills very, very well, as I said, bringing him forward on around just outside the off stump consistently over after, not for 6 balls, or it's got to be over after over. I do believe you'll get an opportunity. If you get bored or you're not disciplined enough or mentally tough enough to be able to deliver that, he'll expose you and he'll murder you. I do like that left shoulder tactic of bowling aggressive at him. I saw Neil Wagner get him a few times when New Zealand were over in Australia. And you pack that left side and you just say, all right, you're going to play the pull shot and we're going to pack 3 or 4 kind of catches available for the pull shot. You put a couple back for the big, obviously, hook shot as well. It's just who is going to be able to deliver that consistently, because it's not easy. Wagner's the perfect style bowler to do it because he's so used to delivering the short stuff. But I think you can overcomplicate life in cricket. And the old adage of just hit the top of off stump as many times as you possibly can or just outside. I think it pretty much works for most players.
Good stuff. Great. Thanks, guys. Oh, I thought.
What do you think?
I told you my hair salon worked.
I mean, no?
Seriously.
It's a bit of a different colour.
What have you got in that room? What is that room? Is that your office?
Yeah, it's my office.
Look at it.
Look like, it's memorabilia, a little window.
I reckon I played against.
Magazines.
Where's your Durham sweater? You
Durham sweaters up there at the back.
Yeah, I'd have played against your
Durham in the corner to
little
the
half.
right, over this shoulder. That's my one day Durham sweater there.
You used to get, when I was a young kid coming through the Yorkshire ranks, we used to play you in the Tilcon Trophy, didn't we, at Scarborough?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you were hungover, but you got me back into form a few times.
Oh yeah, I bowled to the middle of your bat. I know. Yeah.
Lovely.
I see Jack Jones on the comment section. He says, "What is going on?" And I think, yeah, indeed, Jack. What is going on? Anyway,
there's a dog. Whose dog is it?
Shut up!
Will's
Shut
here.
up, Sparky.
Will's here. Good evening to you, Will. What do you want to ask, Mike?
Hello, Simon. Hello,
I like
Michael.
the beard, Will.
Sorry,
Right, Will.
sorry, Simon.
I like the beard.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind of you to say. I will just say that before I ask my question, Michael, to speak to you, this is an absolute honour. If the 05, if I hadn't watched the 2005 Ashes, I wouldn't have got into cricket. So it's mainly down to you that I'm into cricket. So thank you very much. Basically.
Well, thank you very much. I think it probably Freddie as well and KP.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
You can be honest.
and I'm going to take you back to the 05 Ashes, as I'm sure the majority of people have on this call tonight. But I'm going to ask you, what's the hardest part of that 2005 Ashes? Obviously, winning it was obviously the winning it obviously was the highlight of it. But what was the hardest part of the 05 Ashes? And the second part of it is, my second question, is what's the best piece of advice? What was the best piece of advice you would get? Oh no, sorry, it's not that. Sorry, you've answered that already. I'll ask you one about Strictly. Actually, I've got one in my head about Strictly.
Should have won that.
Yeah, what was your best and your worst dance on Strictly that you did?
I like the fact that you used the word best.
because you got absolutely slaughtered on it,
Well, come on.
You got absolutely pelted on it.
Well, you name me another person that's dancing in front of 20,000 at the O2. To an New York American move with a 6'2" Australian blonde. It doesn't get much better than that. Come on. Managed to get 35 points for that one, Will.
Did you? 35?
Yes,
Wow.
Really? Yeah, awesome. I managed to go to, I think I was near the top of the leaderboard that evening. I was last off.
Yeah. I was going to say also as well, I think you got a standing ovation as well, I think, from the whole of the
Correct. I did, yeah. Well, you've remembered nicely. The Ashes, the hardest bit, or I would say the last week, when, the public we expect, you're so close. I just didn't want us as a team to let everyone down. I felt that the nation was so desperate for us to win. Obviously we were desperate, but you just felt that the whole kind of country had come together to drive us forward, and I just didn't want us. I think I could have accepted losing if we'd have played okay. I just didn't want us to have that week where we just didn't arrive and play, and unfortunately we. Strachey in the first innings got us out of a bit of a hole, and then Freddie with an incredible spell with the ball, and then obviously Kevin with the bat. So I always believe in Test cricket, you need 4 superheroes across the 4 innings if you want to win against the better teams, and we managed to find a few superheroes that week. What was the other question? Strictly.
You said he said the best and worst.
No, my worst dance actually was Jive. This old house shaking Stevens week 2. Yeah, lumberjack. Yeah, I started with an axe. Yeah. I forgot the routine as I walked down the stairs. Completely forgot it went blank.
Were you more nervous doing that than going out to bat for England?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The first few weeks, I put it up there with the most intimidating moments of my life. But you're only dancing in front of 12 million. Mm. And when you can't dance and you can't hear the beat and you don't really know what the beat is, it's quite tricky. And then you're up against people who suddenly, particularly what's quite hard on Strictly is when you walk in the streets and the whole country suddenly know you and they're having a pop at you about your dancing. You're like, you're right, have a pop about my cover drive, but come on. Having a go about my cha-cha-cha.
I think
Granny's stopping you in the street. You don't listen to the music, do you? I'm like, no, I can't hear it. What do you want me to do? No, it was a good laugh. The tour, I did the tour with Tufnell. So we did all the tours, all the arenas, and people were paying 75 quid to watch me and Tufnell dance. Daylight robbery.
I think is it Ramps and Darren Goff both said the same thing. They're absolutely terrified, and they both
they
said
were
that
good.
but they still found it just a really intimidating experience, despite all the things they've done in their careers. Jacob's here. Good evening, Jacob.
Brother Simon, and
time for two more questions, I think. Jacob and then one other.
Fantastic, and Simon, and obviously great listening to you, Vaughan. My question is, I love your punditry, and I love your, the way you come across, and you don't sit on the fence, and you're very forthright in your opinions. Now, what I wanted to know is a different kind of side. I mean, has that ever created an issue with any of the current England players, or anything like that? Has it affected your relationship, I guess, and with anyone from obviously Yorkshire? So there's been some Yorkshire players that you've obviously critiqued over the years. Johnny Bairstow comes to mind. So I just wanted to kind of I just kind of wondered whether you ruffled a few feathers.
I think the honest answer, Jacob, is I think I've ruffled many. But I'll be totally honest with you. I honestly believe that once you've finished your playing days, you've got to remember when you play cricket, everyone believes that you're best buddies forever with that group of people. You hold something special because you've been in, like the 05 team. Obviously, I'm very close to them, but I haven't seen many of them for 10 years. I don't know Johnny Bairstow really. I played with him a little bit in 6 and 7 when he was a kid. Adil Rashid, I played a few games. I don't know these people really, and I just try and give an honest assessment. And the only time I would come off my long run is when I don't think things are done correctly. So, for instance, Adil Rashid, had a falling out with him because I didn't think he was treating Test cricket correctly by not playing 4-day cricket. I didn't get that. I didn't get why he would be playing Test cricket but not representing Yorkshire in 4-day cricket. I got some lessons of advice from Geoffrey Boycott in 2009 when I went into the punditry world, and he said very simply, you can't be in the dressing room. And it's the best piece of advice I've ever had because, I watch all sports, and if I listen to pundits that are just too friendly and butter over important issues, you got to remember, and I remember that, you as the fans, you almost know as much as us. You've just not had the experience of being the player, but you watch so much cricket that you're not daft. So if a player's making ultimately terrible errors and we're trying to iron out or make excuses to why they've made that error, I just think it comes across terribly. I honestly think I'm fair. I'm fair to both sides. I'm not partial towards England. I think that winds a lot of England fans up. I don't think you can be. If you're going to be a pundit, you've got to be very fair to both teams. And I think that winds England fans up. But that's me, and I'll always be that way. And I'll also always be very honest. If I see a player that's making particularly talented, for instance, Zach Crawley at the minute, he's winding me up because he's better than that. You look at his last 7 or 8 dismissals in Test match cricket, he's basically gifted the opposition his wicket. Gifted. And now he's under the ultimate pressure this week of having to get a score. Whereas if he just played normally in 3 or 4 of those occasions and got decent scores, we wouldn't be talking about him this week. So he's kind of made so many errors that's put him under a huge amount of pressure. The 2 shots he played at Lord's last week, they were really poor cricket shots. I would look back to my time and when I played those kind of shots, if someone on television or on the radio or in the written press was saying, oh yeah, but he was unlucky because he played a massive yahoo outside of off stump, they're not doing the jobs correctly. So I think it's important that once you become a pundit, any job that I've done, whether it's been the England captain, I give it everything. I was on the board at Yorkshire for a while, I gave it everything. I go into business, I'll give it everything. I'm now a pundit, I'll give it everything. And eventually, I might end up going back into cricket. You never know where I'll end up. And I might go and I'll give that everything. But whatever you're doing that specific role, whatever it may be, you've got to dedicate that position the best you possibly can. And at the minute, I'm a pundit, I'm a commentator. And if players do things really, really well, I'll say that. If they do them really, really badly and consistently make the same mistakes, I'm sorry, but you've got to say that they're not doing it correctly, and that's what I'll say.
Just on your forecasting, though, Michael, I remember you're very sure about Australia beating India. I wanted to remind you of that. Can you remember that 4-0?
Yeah.
You're pretty sure about that, right?
Yeah, but you were thinking the same. 1-0 down, ball out for what, 36, Virat on his way home. You're not telling me. I don't think there'd be one pundit. No, you shouldn't be betting, but if anyone was having a punt, there's no one in a million years was backing India to come back from that.
You're right. You're right.
No chance. No, I have got the odd prediction wrong. I'll admit to that, but that's just a little bit of fun and games.
Great. Excellent. Really good question, Jacob. Yeah, and a great answer as well. Right. Our final questioner this evening is Jack. Hello, Jack. Was it you that said what is going on? We're going to, yeah, on you go. Anyway, what's your question? You're on mute,
of course. Come on, Jack.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're on now, Jack.
Okay, perfect. So I wondered if you had a view on the upcoming test match between England women and India women next week at Bristol. And then a quick follow-up to that was, how important do you think the 100 is going to be in creating parity between the men and the women's games?
Good question. Next week, I'm delighted that there is a test match between the girls. I think one of the areas of the game that needs to improve is more cricket for the girls team. I don't think they play enough. I don't think they're talked about enough because I don't think they play enough. I think the only way that we can get the women's game closer and closer to the men, and let's be honest, it's a long way off as we speak, is by getting more and more cricket for them. There needs to be an IPL for the girls. I can't understand why there isn't. I can't understand why it doesn't mirror the men's IPL. I think it'd be great for the women's game. Great spectacle, also great profile. We need more teams that are competitive in women's cricket, and that will only happen if they play more and play more against each other. At the minute, Australia are the standout team by a country mile. They are as good a cricket team as you could watch. They've got incredible players, athletic, quick, speed, batting depth. They've pretty much got everything. So that's something that I guess England will have to look at and try and catch them up. That's going to take some skill and performances over the years to get close to that Australian team. But I think 100 maybe is the start of that kind of divide becoming a little bit closer. Starting on July the 21st with the women's 100 game first. I think that's a nice message for the ECB to have sent. But I just think the girls team needs to play more. I think it needs to be seen more. I just don't think they play enough. And I know the ECB are desperate to profile the women's game, and they'll be looking at all sorts of areas that they can do. But I just think by playing more, going on more tours, and they can have that IPL window every year, and then the 100 window for the girls. I think it'll go a long way of making sure that the women's game is in a similar kind of profile to the men's game.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to the game next week in Bristol, which is why I'm getting a bit more interested in it. And Izzy Westbury spoke on a podcast I think on the Wisdom podcast, really interestingly about, because women don't tend to play test matches, and then all of a sudden the international boards just like plonk one in. Yeah. And especially with the Ashes, like the format's interesting with the women's Ashes, but I just feel like you can't. Everyone's just like, oh, the standard's not very good, but you can't expect it to be good if once every 5 years they're just going to be like, here's a test match, Yeah. And I think the problem is it's going to be very one-sided, because in India there is no domestic long form of the game for the women. And we've got players like Heather Knight and Nat Siver who are just going to knock it about the park.
But in fact, interestingly, Kate Cross, who's now a columnist on The Cricketer, said in her column, which is out next week, saying that they don't play any red ball either, the England women. And
Jack,
they don't play 3 or 4 day games, and they need more of that.
Yeah. Jack, what would you do with the women's game if you had a blank canvas? What would you bring?
So it's really tricky. I think what they've done in terms of the Rachel Hayhoe Flint is a good idea, but I just don't understand why they can't have a 4-day competition as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be as big as the county championship and as traditional. if they wanted to do groups as well, and it might not even end up with a final, or you break it up into further divisions. I just think that they need to play a little bit more domestic red ball cricket, even if it was a 3-day game.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading.
I'll give the game an idea. I honestly think from July, there are many independent schools in this country that have the best facilities that their grounds do not get used. They do not get used from July, August. They go back in September, they might play a little bit more. But for 2 months, these independent schools' grounds, they don't get used. And they're magnificent. They've got all the machinery, they've got all the covers, they've got indoor facility if it rains, so they can go in and practice. I'd be looking at tapping into that market if I was the women's game. They're going to have, you mentioned 3-day, 4-day, probably start with 3-day cricket. Yeah. I think that'd be a good starter. And I'll be trying to tap into these independent schools to try and see if the games can be played at some of the venues.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, good idea. Okay, well, that's a good question, and that's a good way to end that section, I think. Noughts, are we done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
What happens now? What do we do now?
Now we're going to do a quiz.
Oh, this is where I get completely embarrassed. Lovely double-decker bus coming back, a modern one on. It looks like an electric one.
Sound like blowers.
Yeah, so you've got my Irritating.
Yeah. So this quiz is called "How Well Do You Know Yourself?"
Yeah.
Right, and it starts with a little bit of music, which is this.
A bit nervous about this, I'll be honest.
It's 10 questions.
That's a brilliant song. What is that?
Who knows?
Someone's just put on the top of the screen, Sussex girls play at Road Dean School. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
Right. If you get the answer right, you get this. He's got it. And if you get it wrong, you get this. Okay.
I think there might be a few of those.
And our last contestant was Simon.
Sonny Gavaskar, wasn't it?
Sonny Gavaskar.
Yeah.
And he got 9.5 out of 10.
Oh yeah, Sonny, I'll know everything. He'd be like, what did Boycott get? He'd have got 10, wouldn't he?
He got 8.5, I think.
8.5.
Yeah.
What would he not know about himself?
Yeah, that's a good question. What did he get wrong? I can't remember what he got wrong now. Anyway, he did get something wrong.
Well, you can look back on YouTube at Boycott's attempts. Yeah. I'm just trying to see if I can. There's a leaderboard here, actually.
The worst.
Oh, yeah,
the worst.
Who's the quizmaster?
Me.
Both,
both
of us. Yeah, we are.
So, who can I ask who researched the questions out of you two?
Both of us.
Yeah. It's a joint effort.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Are you ready to go?
Some of the questions have changed a bit since since I set them yesterday.
Oh right, a bit about Twitter.
No.
There's nothing about Twitter.
Yours has updated them. He thinks he's made them more interesting. Anyway, there we go.
Right. Okay.
Right. You can
start the music. Come on.
You got 4 to beat, Michael.
4?
Well, that was
Alistair Cook.
Alistair Cook. Right, on we go, Yoz. You can do the first one. You can do the first question, Yoz.
Okay. Who dismissed you on your first class debut, and how many did you make?
I got 64.
Half a point.
Wasim Akram.
He's got it. Very good. Good little half volley on off stump to start.
Well, come on, not really.
1 out of 1.
I didn't think you'd get that. That's a good start, I think. Right. Question 2. Wasim Jaffer, Sachin Tendulkar, Herschel Gibbs, Sean Pollock, and who completes the list?
So are these my dismissals?
They might be.
So I got more than 4, didn't I, in Test cricket?
You got 6.
Ajika Agarkar.
And?
So there's 2 more, is there?
Well, there's 1 more.
No, there's not.
No, there's not. I got him twice.
He's got it.
Is the right
Very good.
Is the right answer. Ajit Agarkar was your 5th.
An absolute peach at the Oval through the gate. See you later.
He was your 5th. He got out 5 men in Test cricket, but Agarkar got out twice. So those were your list of Test match victims.
He's obviously had a Test 100 at Lords as well. He's a very good player.
Which is more than Sachin Tendulkar managed.
Mm.
Right, 2 out of 2. Good start.
You do question 3 while I'm getting this ready.
Okay, all right. Question 3. When you were given out handled the ball in India in December 2001, the last person who that will ever happen to in Test cricket, because the law has changed, is now instructing the field. Who was the bowler who bowled the ball that you trapped with your hand?
Bowler. Harbhajan Singh.
Shall we see if that's true?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Harbhajan Singh. Who is it?
Well, I was rather hoping you would answer that, Michael.
Oh, it's Sarandeep. Sarandeep. Who's that? Sarandeep Singh, is it?
Talk us through this then.
Well, I mean, come on. I'm just helping them out, trying to get, the slow over rates these days. That's why it's, you don't get a helping hand, do you, from batters? I was just helping him out. It's never going back to him. Look at Ramsey. Can't believe it. Neither can I. What a muppet. It wasn't even spinning back on the stumps, was it? What a muppet. I was I think I was on 60 odd now. I was smashing them.
Yeah, you were.
Sarandip. How was I going to get that?
Well,
you got his surname. You got his surname, or you got his second.
Do I get half a point for that?
I think so. Yeah, you can have half a point.
Half a point.
Well, yeah. Well, because it's Sarandip came up. Well, yours. You actually gave the answer in the clip, but Michael then finished off his name, so that's fair enough. Half a point for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. Very kind.
We like to be reasonably charitable on the Virtual Cricket Club.
God, look at that. I haven't missed it as well. I should have whacked that. It was right there to sweep.
Yeah, Sarandeep Singh played only 3 Test matches, and the other thing about I noticed in that match, you ran him out in India's first innings. You've probably forgotten that.
Yeah. Cover point. Yeah, remember that.
Right, that's 2 out of 3.
2.5 out of 3.
Not bad.
You can even half. Okay, right.
Yeah. It's 2.5.
Question 4. You batted 147 times for England in Test cricket, making 1800s. Did you score more ducks or hit more sixes?
More ducks.
Or more sixes.
I don't think I got many ducks. I was on pair, Sydney, Lords. Sixes. I'm trying to think. No, I reckon I hit more sixes.
He's got it! Very good. 22 sixes, 9 ducks.
22 is quite a lot, isn't it?
Can't believe it.
For a plinker.
Yeah.
3.5 out of 4. Question number 5. 3 bowlers dismissed you 6 times in Test cricket. 1 bowler dismissed you 7 times, which was the most. Who was it?
7. I'd say Glenn McGrath.
Okay, if we said to you a chance to salvage half a point here, Michael. If we
you're being very good, very beneficial here.
It's good. It's because Mission T are sponsoring the podcast. You're after more, aren't you?
I give you one chance for half a point. McGrath was one of 3 who dismissed you 6 times.
Murley.
How many more? Do you want to give him another couple of goes and sort of, he's got it.
I'm going to give you half a point for that. So you're 4 out of you're 4 out of 5. Now you've got to get this.
Weak as piss, you are, Simon.
You've got to get this one right.
Hey, that's like abuse, that Simon. You're being
go on. Like I'll be banned now. I can be banned from my own show. How about that?
Yeah.
Right.
It'll come.
Question 6. Who was Sheffield Wednesday manager when England won the Ashes in 2005?
Well, that's a good question. It was Paul Sturrock.
He's got it! Very good.
I only know that because I declared early against Bangladesh at Lords in, I think, the game before the Ashes started, because I wanted to get to the playoff final at Cardiff. And Paul Sturrock was the manager, and I ended up drinking with them all night. Yeah. So, that's why I know.
Good stuff. Yeah. So that's 5 out of 6. Question 7. Against which major Test playing country did you have your best batting average?
What? India.
He's got it!
India, 72.
Going well here, Yoz, aren't I?
6 out of 7.
Come on.
Right. Okay. Question 8. Of all the recent captains of England, who had the best test match strike rate? You, Andrew Strauss, Alistair Cook, or Nasser?
What? So, okay.
So test match batting strike rate. Out of those 4, Nasser, Strauss, Cook, or you, who had the best batting strike rate in tests?
I don't think it's me.
Hussain, Cook, Strauss, Vaughan.
See, you would say Alistair Cook, no, but it may be him. Strauss, he liked to dash. No, it can't be Nasser. Half about Nass, no chance. I'm going Strauss. It's not Nasser.
It's actually you.
Me? Oh.
Hussain, 40.
Yeah.
Cook, 45. Strauss, 48. Vaughan, 51.
That's it. Get the game going forward.
I'm afraid you got that wrong.
It's not bad, that is it? Should have
6
taken
out of
that
8.
to my one-day game.
6 out of 8. Question number 9. Who has more Twitter followers? You or Robbie Savage?
Right, it's football, isn't he? It's got to be Robbie Savage.
He's got it!
Robbie Savage, 1.6 million. Michael, 1.3 million. 7 out of 9. Very respectable. Question 10, yours.
Question 10. What is your current most irritating habit at home?
That's not a question.
Yes, it is.
What? So I just answer and it's going to be right.
No, I've got evidence.
Evidence? You've done
Have you got
research.
evidence?
I've done some research.
So you've rung up my wife, have you?
Possibly.
Most irritating habit.
Recent irritating habit. That you have many, according to her, but there's one that stands out.
Recent.
Sort of the last year or two, I'd say.
Oh, recent. I would say it's not the TV remote controller, is it? I don't think it's that. No, it can't be that. Most annoying habit. Maybe not tidying up in the kitchen.
That's a bit boring. Something a bit more specific.
Something
Something that you do quite regularly. And
pizza oven cooking.
We're hearing your whole life kind of like discord here, aren't we? No.
Keep them coming, Michael.
Go on, have another go.
So wait a minute. Most annoying habit.
It was number 1 on a certain family member's list.
I honestly have no idea.
Well, I mean, it's something to do with the bike.
Oh, Peloton. Yeah.
Yeah, but what?
Not cleaning up. Yeah, leaving the sweat all over the place.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
Actually, it's getting off the Peloton, dripping with sweat, and sitting straight on the sofa.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah.
He's got it!
Finally, you got there.
Yeah. You're very kind, because I really didn't get that right, but you've given me a correct
Well,
answer.
I'm feeling generous. I don't want you to be down in the lower reaches of this competition.
Can I ask how did Alistair Cook only get 4 when you clearly help people out?
Because he was just thick. He was useless.
You can have a go at him tomorrow. He's with you on TMS, isn't he?
Yeah, just tell him. I'll tell you what, I'll send you his quiz on WhatsApp, and you can see how bad he was. The only questions he got right was about sheep.
Jacob just said on the message, says Cookie was terrible. He's slating him.
So well done. 8 out of 10.
Worst performance ever, says Will.
That's a good performance. That's nearly as good as Boyk's. You got 8.
Yeah, you helped me out there. Cheers, Simon.
Well, we like to be charitable.
What's the parting shot? Anything about tomorrow's game?
What about the team news? Who's going to play tomorrow, do we think?
Well, I personally would go with the spinner, but I get a sense they won't. Dry conditions. It's been red hot last few days. You go back to 2019, Nathan Lyon ripped through England. I mean, it's a gamble either way without Ben Stokes because, he just balances the team. But I just look at what Jack Leach did in the winter. I feel that he should be in the team, and 3 seamers should be enough on this kind of surface. So I'd go with the spinner, but I get a sense that he's going to go with the four quicks, and it'll be Overton. I think he'll replace Robinson, and I would think Stone may replace Mark Wood because he might be a little bit sore from Laws, but Anderson Broad and the other 2.
Great.
And this crowd is 18,000, and there's it's a test, isn't it? One of the government tests for getting people into sporting stadiums. So it should be a great atmosphere.
Look out for my friend who's apparently going tomorrow as Mr. Blobby. I have no idea why. Imagine wearing a Mr. Blobby costume in this weather.
Yeah, is he after losing a bit of weight, or
yeah, possibly?
It's a good way to do it.
Right, what's the rest of your evening hold?
I don't know. There's an ale on, so it's a Peaky Blinders bottle of ale that's been left in my room, so I'll probably swirl that. Not a lot.
You don't know what to do with no Peloton bike, do you?
Yeah, I'm watching Sir Alex Ferguson's film. It's very good.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. So I've got to finish that. Simon will be into that, won't you, Simon?
Yeah, I look forward to seeing
being a football fan. I'll probably watch the T20. I think Worcester playing Notts. Is that right? I'll watch the end of that. If you 2 can let me go, I'll probably get the end of it.
Great.
It's great then. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. See ya.
Did
Thanks for your time.
Did Boycott do that? Did he say, "See ya, just get rid of you"?
No, we couldn't get rid of him, could we? He was on till about 10 o'clock, I think.
Oh, well, I won't be. I'm off. Ta-ra.
Cheers, Michael. Bye-bye. Thanks very much.
Cheers.